Pagi hari ini kita membagikan sedikit tentang pengalaman kita. Kalau kemarin kita sempat 2 minggu ini, both of us kita ikut summer mission ke Sumba. Next slide please.
Di tim Summer Mission ini setiap tahun World Harvest adakan Summer Mission ke Indonesia at least 1 kali setahun. Dan tahun ini kita pergi ke Sumba. Tahun ini ada 30 orang yang ikut di tim kita. Setiap tahun biasanya ada 40 atau lebih dari 40 orang yang ikut, tapi tahun ini kita timnya lebih sedikit dan actually cuma 25 orang yang ikut throughout the entire journey, yang 5 orang hanya ikut untuk sebagian dari trip ini. Dan kita datang dari berbagai macam kota dari seluruh dunia, dari Jakarta, kebanyakan dari, actually half of it came from America, banyak yang dari LA, Pastor Daniel Hanafi dari LA, dia ikut, dia yang the main preacher for all the crusades, buat semua KKR, kecuali satu KKR, dia yang khotbah. Dan ada banyak orang datang dari LA, dari Houston ada 2 orang, saya dan Michelle. San Francisco cuma 1 orang, Toronto 1 orang, Qatar, ada orang dari Qatar 1 orang. Jakarta, there are a lot of people from Jakarta and Surabaya.
I was just asked to speak in English, so I will. So out of these 25 people, most of them are veterans. Kayak they've been on summer mission for at least like 6 times, 5 times, but also more than half, they were first timers gitu, just like us. So it was a very good time meeting them for the first time and working together with them for 2 weeks. Now we want to talk about the life. What exactly did we do for the past 2 weeks? Where did we go and when?
Oke, kita mulai dari we started from starting with orientation in Surabaya on July 5th, and from there we flew to the city on the far right. Is called Waingapu City, and we travel to all the 4 major cities in Sumba, and we hold 2 crusades for every city, 2 children ministries for every city, and 2 youth seminars. So Michelle will talk about the daily activities more. So these are the 4 cities: Waingapu, Anakalang, and then there is 1 city that's not named there, Waitabula. All the big dots there, those are all the big 4 cities in Sumba.
So let me just tell you what exactly we did in those 2 weeks. So we would arrive in 1 city, and then we would spend the whole day gitu kayak setting up. For the crusades, we bring all the lighting, all the sound systems, all the stage equipments ourselves. They were weighed about 7 tons of stuff. So first day usually is just setting up, and then the next day we would wake up at 6 in the morning pretty much every day. At 6:10 gitu biasanya, Pastor Dani would come and lead the devotion, and after that we would split into 4 groups. So there's a children ministry team, there are 2 teams that would do youth seminars, and then there's 1 team, biasanya the musicians, the praise and worship team would practice that day. So we would do, from morning to afternoon, we would do whatever our day ministry is gitu. We both help with both children ministry and youth seminars. And then we would come back to our house or to wherever we stay, and we would get maybe like an hour break or so, and then we would go into the field where we will hold crusades gitu. So there's barely breaks, there's barely sleep, but it was good. And then at night we would do whatever our roles in during the crusades. So that's pretty much it gitu every day. Set up the first day, 2 days of crusades, 2 days of day ministry. The next morning we get up and we do devotion, do breakfast, move again to the next city. And pretty much same thing for all 4 cities.
So before we came to this trip, I thought what I'll be doing is only to carry stuff, but when we came there, when we arrived there, oh my God, we got so many things to do, and we were assigned to do so many roles, and it was just pushing us to the limits, but it was a really good experience for all of us in the team. This is where we lived for 2 days. So throughout the 4 cities, we were given a chance to live in some of the local people's house. So they invited us to their house, and this is one of the local person's house, local family house, and this is called Rumah Panggung. You're gonna see what it looks like later on. The roof looks different than from our roof. So this is where we sleep. This is all the bed, really thin bed, and then this is the wood floor. Under the wood floor, there are horses. There are a lot of livestock, horses, pigs, ducks, dogs, cats. Were there cats? There were like the whole zoo were down there, and then we would hear dogs, horses making sounds during our sleep. So it's literally under our bed. Yeah.
So if you ask me what was the most challenging experience of summer mission, this is the answer. So again, sometimes we live in a church. It's not always like this. In some cities we live in a church, we live in pastorinya gereja gitu. But this was in the second city. It's called Anakalang. Anakalang tuh kota yang the most traditional one. So we live in the people's house. And if you know me, I'm very scared of animals. So to have to deal with the horses and the dogs that self was a challenge. But then you came across this gitu. I haven't used WC jongkok in 9 years. So that was quite a challenge. And again gitu kayak there are 12 girls and we only have one bathroom. By 6 we have to be ready. Sometimes we're not done until 12 or so gitu. So we have to take kayak very cold showers at 5 in the morning sometimes, at midnight. That was also an interesting experience.
Thank God most of us were kept healthy throughout the trip, despite the cold shower. Okay, next. And then, as we mentioned earlier, we had several ministry. The children ministry first. Children ministry. So, from the big cities that we visited, every day we visit one small village, about 1 hour or 2 hours drive from that big city. So it's quite a long drive to go to the small village. And in the small village, we play with the kids. We gather a lot of kids around. So the coordinator already advertised this event to the small villages. So the small villages organize trucks. So they would load like 50 kids into one truck. And they go from each small cities, gather around in one a little bigger village. And we gathered them together and we sang Sunday school songs. Can you play it, Tika? This is them singing happy yeah yeah yeah, happy yeah yeah yeah. So we were just sitting di atas terpal and there were so many kids. There were at least 100 kids every day, up to 400 kids. So it was a struggle for us to control all those kids, and then they were really excited to see us. They were really excited to this balloon castle, which I'm gonna show in the next slide. So no, not yet. Okay, so when we arrive at the small village, first we sing Sunday school song with them. Most of them already go to church, so they know some Sunday school songs, but some others don't go to church, and we kind of teach them Sunday school songs. And after singing the Sunday school songs, we do puppet show, panggung boneka, for them. And we teach them about Adam and Eve and the lost child. And the next slide. This year is the first year that this summer mission team is bringing a really huge balloon castle. It weighs 1,000 pounds, more than 1,000 pounds, and it takes more than 12 adult men to carry this from the truck and then load it back. So we do this, we blow it up 18 times during the trip. So can you play it? So the kids were really happy to see this. Like by the time we inflated the balloon, they were really excited and they wanted to rush in. So some of the villages we visited the school, so that's why we're wearing the elementary school uniform, the white and red. Okay, next.
So wait, I want to say something. Kayak this looks like fun, but it was so much work to do gitu. Kayak again, at least 12 adults. It takes 12 adults to push them and kayak set them up. They do this twice a day. I think the children ministry team worked really, really hard this year. But it was very encouraging because not only you saw the kids gitu being this happy, in our first city, we got all these adults actually like going inside because it's like their first time seeing something like this gitu. So I think it was a very interesting, it was a very good idea because not only attracted the kids, but also like the parents of the kids gitu. When we went to villages, there were not just kids, but there were also adults around who were staying there gitu to listen to us when we shared the stories and stuff. So I think it was worth it gitu. It was worth the effort. The second, as I mentioned gitu earlier, other than children ministry, both of us were also helping with the youth seminars during the day. So we held 11 seminars, total hundreds of teenagers attended. What did we talk about during this seminar? We talk about, it's called No Apology Seminar. It's actually materials from Focus on the Family, something that actually came from the United States. But pretty much we challenged the youth. We taught them, what does it mean to live a life yang berkenan di hadapan Tuhan gitu? Apa artinya hidup kudus? We talk to them about kayak pergaulan bebas, apa bahaya-bahayanya. We talk about how, hey guys gitu, we know you're young, but realize that the decisions that you guys are making today gitu will impact your life in the future. So we challenge the youth gitu to live a life with no regrets. We taught them about seks bebas, tentang pacaran, tentang everything that would be relevant gitu to the young people over there. Again, this was during the youth seminars. At the end, we usually do altar calls gitu, and we call the youth and we ask them gitu, if you guys are willing gitu to commit your lives to Christ, and not just go to church on Sundays, but to really commit your lives to Christ gitu. If you guys are willing to commit to live a life yang kudus gitu, yang benar-benar berkenan di hadapan Tuhan, we ask them to raise their hands. We ask them to respond gitu, and it really blessed my heart gitu to see these young people, they responded gitu to God's call, and yeah. Next.
Okay. So every night, everyone gather around and then we prepare for the crusade, starting from 4 p.m. every night, every afternoon. And then we held a total of 8 crusades, 2 in each city. And every night, thousands of people came from the city and from the small villages around it. They would organize trucks, so they would load so many people in the trucks and then travel from the small villages. And up to 5,000 people come every night. And there were praise and worship, there were sermons. Pastor Daniel preached for 7 times, and then the other sermon was preached by Pastor Raymond from Surabaya. And after sermon, Pastor Daniel challenged them to accept Christ with altar call. And after that, every night he does healing miracles for anyone who needs healings. So we saw a lot of people raise their hands. These big cities have a lot of people who already go to church, but the people from the small villages around the big city, they still believe in their their ancestor. It's called the Marapu belief. So it was really touching for all of us to see these people raise their hand and then give their life to Christ, and then give up their belief.
And almost, I would say actually every night gitu, you would see people being healed gitu. At the end of the altar call, Pastor Danny is not the type of pastor who would go down and kayak lay hands upon every single person. He just asked people to raise their hands and to pray with him. But every night we saw healing miracles happen gitu. People who came with illness and diseases and feeling pain before they attended the crusade got healed that night. And that itself was amazing to see gitu. I'm just gonna play a video real quick. This is from our crusade in one of the cities. This is what it's like pretty much almost every night. You see people getting very, very excited. Again, if you notice, those lights, the whole stage, the sound system, everything we brought from one city to another. 7 tons of stuff. Being handled by 25 people, with some of them were on this for the very first time. I think at first we were worried we would not get things done. But again, I think God appointed just the right amount of people, and just people who were supposed to be there were there gitu. And the fact that we were able to do this was really kayak God's grace.
It's a picture of the people who are listening to sermon.
Now we will show you how beautiful the island is.
First, let's talk about the local.
So if you guys see on our shirts, there's like a sash that's called Tenun Ikat. So if every time we go to each city, the panitia lokal, the local committee, would give us one of those. That is something that is ciri khasnya Sumba, very traditional sash kain, yeah. And then in one of the cities, all the guys would dress up like this. They would have something on their head, and they would have a parang with them at all times. Machete. They carry parang with them wherever they go. I think a part of it is to protect themselves. A part of it is a part of tradition.
And then when we visited the small villages, we see a lot of people chewing this kapur siri, and I would see their lips were being very red, and then they will spit everywhere, and their spit will be red, like red blood. Some of you know what kapur siri is. I don't know what's the English word for that, and it's just the fruit that they chew on, and they like the sensation of it. When they chew on it, your mouth will feel numb, and then it will give you a sensation like similar to marijuana. They said, so they keep chewing on it. The adults like this age, they keep chewing on it all day, and their lips are all red. And this is just one of the local that I took a picture of. He was smoking tobacco leaves. And this one here is one of the small village that we visited with the little kids waiting for the balloon castle. And you can see all the mummies, the mothers on the left side. This is the traditional house, the rumah panggung. Under it, there are livestock, and they sleep above the livestock. So this is what the houses look like in the small villages. Yay, now let's talk about my favorite part. This island is really beautiful. So I didn't know that we would be able to have time to visit this many beaches and lakes throughout the trip. I thought we would be like working really hard and then no time to go on vacation. But God was so good, and we were able to visit so many beautiful places. Wanna talk about?
This one is called Lake Wikiri. Ini actually lake tapi air asin kayak nembusnya ke laut gitu. I touched sea urchins, tusuk bulu babi when I was swimming here. It was an interesting experience. That one is called Bukit Wairinding. So I think what makes Sumba is beautiful. You get both gitu. You get all the watery stuff, the lakes and the beaches are nice, but also there are mountains and hills, which are also very pretty. Next. Just more pictures for the beaches. For those of you who are interested in going to mission trip this year, know that on the last day, you actually get to live in a resort. you get 1 day of just doing nice things. So these pictures were taken on the very last day. They were very pretty. Next.
Now let's talk about the lessons learned. At the last night, we went around and then shared our highlights and the lessons that we learned from the trip. And for me personally, it was really amazing to spend every single day serving God from 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. and just spend the whole day serving God. And it was amazing that I don't need to work. But it was more amazing to serve God together with the people whose heart is also for God. And the people who went to the mission trip were all amazing. And then they have one mission, and that mission is only to serve God. And it was such an experience for me. And the next one is before coming to this mission trip, they gave us a role. Each one of us has several roles. One of my role was to be prayer captain. And when I look at that role, I'm like, huh? Like my prayers are all simple, and I can't do like really fancy prayers. All the words that I say when I pray are very simple, and my prayers are short. So I was struggling with God a week before I went to the mission trip, I was asking God, why do you put me to be a prayer captain? Because Michelle is obviously a better prayer captain, will be a better prayer captain than me. But I was talking to Michelle too. I was asking her, can we just switch role? But then I was really struggling. I cried during several nights. I was just asking God about this because being a prayer captain on a mission trip really, for me, is a huge responsibility because this is not only the work that we do, we need to support the team with prayers too because there are a lot of challenges in this mission trip. So I started praying and then praying every night, but God told me that He didn't put me as a prayer captain by mistake. Obviously, this is not chosen randomly. They prayed before they chose this role. So I embraced my fear and then came to the mission trip and served as a prayer captain, and everything went well. Like my prayers are still short, but maybe it's a little bit longer since I've learned. But this mission trip has really improved my spiritual life. I have become much more closer to God and learned from a lot of people from the mission trip. And one of the sermon that Pastor Dance gave us in one of the morning devotional are all at 6 a.m. But I took notes because they're all really powerful messages, and one of them were about God's power. In Matthew 28, verse 18, it says, all authority on earth and on heaven are given unto us. So we have all the authority, all the God's power are unto us. So we need to be confident in the power that's been given unto us. So this is the most memorable message that Pastor Dan gave for me. And then, yeah, one more. We didn't have any AC for 2 weeks, so I was surprised I could survive with no AC for the entire 2 weeks.
But Sumba is actually pretty cold. It could get kaya 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit at night, so we didn't need AC. For me personally, there were so many highlights. I think I learned a lot of things, got confirmed, and taught a lot of things for me personally. But one of the highlights that God reminded me, I think during those 2 weeks, we weren't just working for God, but this 25, 30 people, we were really working with God gitu. During those 2 weeks, I saw a lot of things that happened that could not explain by anything other than that was God turun tangan, God Tuhan yang ikut campur. I think the enemy wasn't very happy with us being there. There were so many kayak challenges during those 2 weeks. You could kayak equipment working fine, and then 5 minutes before the crusade, maybe 30 minutes before the crusade, it just stopped working. Kayak multimedia stopped working, and then kayak I was already freaking out. There was one day we were already in the children ministry. We were already in the village. The kids were getting very excited. The balloon was already set up. It was kayak setengah ready. It was half ready. Kayak udah the blowers were working. All of a sudden it just stopped. Kayak, and then we were like all so surprised because we knew kayak that was the main attraction gitu. If that didn't work, the kids would be very disappointed. There were times in Anakalang, in the second city, it was raining from morning to evening, kayak to maybe 5 p.m. And the thing is, weather played a very big role. All the crusades were done in an open field. Semuanya tuh outdoor, lapangan terbuka, all grass, all rumput gitu. Then if it rained, that means one thing. It's gonna be bad check. It's gonna be hard for people to come to the crusade. And the attendance would be very, very low. There was one day, it was just raining from morning to evening. There were times juga kayak Pastor Dani, I think, was also struggling. There was one night he went to the bathroom 30 times gitu. And that night he had to preach. He was the only preacher who was with us. So he was not feeling very well, but there was that. And then there were also, kayak on the very last day, even on the very last day, in the middle of the crusade, the weather was fine. Kayak, but all of a sudden, it just started pouring. And from the stage gitu, I could see people started walking away. But then, through all of this gitu, we prayed gitu. The team prayed together a lot before the crusades, just personally gitu together. And I could see gitu, Tuhan benar-benar turut campur in every single one of them. The multimedia that was broken, it was fixed 2 minutes before the crusade started gitu. 2 minutes before. The children ministry equipment that was broken on the spot, it was fixed on the spot too, and everything went well. Pastor Dani was not feeling very well, but God gave him the strength to still gitu, preach a very powerful word that night, and lives were changed that night gitu, and I was very thankful that he pulled through. Um, the rain, even though it was raining, and it was becek, and it was kayak dirty, and we were worried gitu about people not coming. Thousands of people still came that night gitu. And if that wasn't God that was pulling gitu, that was pushing them to go, I mean, I don't think Edward Chen or the artist Yeshua Abraham or us gitu had the power to attract that many people, honestly. Even the last day gitu, I was very disappointed when I saw people started walking away. Karena I felt like, God, this is the last crusade. This is our closing gitu. Kayak, how sad would it be if it just bubar without us getting to finish strong? But I said, God, you've pulled through gitu. All these 7 crusades, you've given us good weather. You've pulled through every single time. I asked God just one last time gitu. Kayak, show us your miracle. Show us that this is your work, not us. And he did exactly that. It was raining. And then kayak, in the middle of the crusade, the rain just stopped. And we could go ahead and move on, and we really finished the last crusade well gitu. And just all those things gitu, I saw gitu every day, those 14 days, whether it's children ministry or the seminars or the crusades, God was there amongst us gitu, working with us. And that was something that I would always remember. The second thing I learned was how desperate people were gitu. Kayak, I think God asked me again and again, you know, I live with these people gitu. I know what their houses are like, their living condition gitu in villages in Indonesia. Maybe very simple, very sederhana gitu. But I saw them at the crusade gitu when Pastor Dani tuh challenge-nya bukan siapa yang mau menerima Tuhan Yesus untuk pertama kali gitu. Karena most of these people were actually already Christians. But Pastor Dani emphasized, I'm not asking you to raise your hands if you want to just accept Jesus, but to really submit to Him, to really surrender your life gitu. And I could see a lot of people, from the youngest to the oldest people, they were raising their hands wholeheartedly gitu. And just, you could see in their face kayak Christ was enough for them gitu. And I think God reminded me again and again, am I enough for you gitu? Kayak, are you as desperate as these people? I think we live here, we take things for granted gitu ya. Gampang ke KKR, gampang dengerin khotbah, gampang ke gereja. These people, they might not have much gitu, but I learned that, you know, Christ was enough, more than enough for them. My last lesson, don't you ever take water heater for granted. You know, showering at 5 in the morning with cold water outside wasn't very ideal. But I think after everything that we've been through and we've learned, it was all worth it. So that's it. Thank you for all your support and prayers.